In late 2007, President Bush declared victory in Iraq, and reconstruction efforts were underway. Sergeant Matthews and his spotter, Sergeant Isaac, are deployed to a remote pipeline construction site deep in the Iraqi desert. The entire American crew at the site has been killed, and it's now their mission to identify the attacker before new workers can be sent in. Positioned behind a cluster of bushes and stones, the soldiers keep watch under the scorching sun. Hours crawl by, and for 20 long hours, nothing happens. Matthew begins to grow impatient, convinced there are no Iraqi soldiers left in the area. Given the scattered bodies, he suspects the site was attacked by a team that struck quickly and then moved on. But Isaac disagrees. He notes there's no evidence of a large group's movement, no tracks, no disturbed terrain. He then points out something chilling. All the workers were killed by precise headshots. This wasn't the work of a sniper, he says. It could only be the work of one man, Juba, the legendary Iraqi sniper. However, Matthews remains skeptical. He finds it hard to believe that anyone, no matter how skilled, could kill so many people in under 30 seconds. Eventually, fed up with waiting, he decides to investigate the site himself and asks Isaac to cover him from their vantage point. Isaac warns that his scope is starting to blur. Matthews mocks him for not replacing it earlier, but Isaac replies that this scope once belonged to a fallen comrade, making it too important to give up. Matthews moves carefully among the bodies. As he studies the wounds, he sees that every victim was killed by a clean, precise headshot. The evidence supports Isaac's theory. Matthews moves to the center of the site, trying to determine the direction the shots might have come from. Isaac, growing increasingly anxious, pleads with him to fall back. But before Matthews can respond, a sharp crack splits the air, a single gunshot. Matthews drops to the ground, clutching his abdomen in agony. Desperate to help, Isaac sprints from his position, zigzagging across the open terrain to avoid becoming an easy target. He nearly reaches Matthews, but another shot rings out. Isaac cries out as a bullet tears into his leg, sending him crashing to the ground beside his friend. With no other option, Isaac hides behind a crumbling wall, forced to leave Matthews exposed. Matthews, still alive but in severe pain, radios Isaac and urges him to contact the base for backup. Before doing so, Isaac checks his leg and realizes the wound is serious. He then ties a belt around his thigh to slow the bleeding. He reaches for his radio bag, only to discover he can't get a signal, the sniper, because the antenna is broken. As he assesses his next move, Matthews radios again, insisting that Isaac spot the sniper so he can return fire. Isaac warns him that any movement could be fatal. The sniper is watching. Isaac begins carving a hole in the wall with his knife to insert the scope, but a sudden fall of rocks injures his hand. Matthews tries to reach for his rifle but collapses from blood loss before he can get to it. Determined not to suffer the same fate, Isaac forces himself to dig the bullet out of his leg with a blade, a brutal and agonizing process. After bandaging the wound as best he can, he too loses consciousness. Sometime later, Isaac regains consciousness after hearing a strange noise crackling through his earpiece. It's an officer from the base, and Isaac quickly starts reporting the situation, desperately requesting medical supplies. But as the conversation continues, he grows suspicious. The officer begins asking odd, unrelated questions and, most alarmingly, insists that Isaac either reveal his exact location or stand up and fire into the air, supposedly to help the helicopters drop supplies more accurately. Isaac quickly points out that the request goes against protocol and would expose his position, putting him at serious risk. As he listens more closely, he notices something off. The man's accent isn't American. That's when it hits him. This isn't an officer from the base. It's Juba, the sniper, who has hacked into the radio frequencies in an attempt to lure him into a trap. Refusing to be fooled, Isaac calls him out. But instead of ending the call, Juba stays on the line, calmly saying he just wants to get to know Isaac better. Isaac tries the radio again, but it's still dead. Meanwhile, Juba keeps pressing with his strange questions. When Isaac refuses to engage, Juba threatens to shoot Matthews again, gambling on the chance that he might still be alive. Reluctantly, Isaac agrees to talk to buy time. He asks Juba to go first, and while the sniper begins talking, Isaac quietly draws a rough map of the site in the dirt, trying to calculate bullet trajectories and triangulate Juba's possible position. Juba claims he's just an ordinary Iraqi citizen trying to protect his homeland, then asks Isaac to tell him about his family. Isaac replies that such a question is far too personal. Isaac mocks Juba's logic, pointing out that he's killing the very people trying to develop the country, those building schools, pipelines, and infrastructure to strengthen the local economy. Juba laughs at this and replies that the profits made here will eventually be funneled back to the U.S. anyway. As time goes on, Juba keeps pressing Isaac with questions, but Isaac refuses to reveal anything personal. Frustrated, Juba threatens to shoot Matthews again. However, Isaac no longer believes him. To prove he's a threat, Juba reveals the name of the scope's previous owner, now dead, and quotes Matthews' earlier teasing remarks. This chilling detail confirms that Juba has been eavesdropping on their conversation since their arrival. Spotting a radio on one of the fallen men through his scope, Isaac drags the body toward the edge of the wall. But even with a piece of wood, he realizes he can't reach the radio without exposing himself to danger. Next, Isaac tries to drink from his water bottle, only to discover it's empty. A small hole has drained it dry. Juba confirms he punctured it on purpose. He then admits he never missed a single shot. He intentionally hit the water bottle, the radio antenna, and Isaac's leg to trap him in a hopeless situation. His goal is for Isaac to die slowly, and he plans to enjoy every moment of it by listening through the communicator. When Isaac examines the bullet he pulled from his leg, he begins calculating the type of weapon Juba is using, slipping in subtle questions to gather more clues. At one point, he calls Juba a terrorist, prompting Juba to laugh and mockingly point out that it's the Americans who have invaded a foreign country armed and ready to kill. As Juba talks, Isaac continues his mental calculations and scans the area through his scope, until he finally deduces that Juba is hiding beneath a massive pile of trash. Isaac realizes Juba has endured these harsh conditions, including the relentless heat, for an extended period, a clear sign of his professionalism. Yet Juba denies being the infamous sniper, once again claiming he's just an ordinary Iraqi man. Based on his accent, Isaac suspects Juba might be a former U.S. Army officer who turned against them, but Juba dismisses the idea. He insists he only kills those who attack him first. In response, Isaac opens up, recounting how he met his best friend as a child and how they eventually joined the army together as adults. Dehydration and exhaustion soon take a serious toll on Isaac, and he collapses to the ground, barely conscious as Juba taunts him with a chilling threat. He'll staple Isaac's tongue to his chest. Isaac tries to deceive him by placing his jacket and helmet on his rifle and raising it above the wall. But Juba doesn't fall for the trick. Instead, the helmet slips off and falls to the other side of the wall, leaving Isaac without protection for his head. Such a foolish mistake, Juba says, and Isaac begins to cry. As more time passes, desperation drives him to take a dangerous gamble. He dashes toward a nearby corpse, grabs the fallen soldier's bag and radio, and sprints back to the wall. Barely dodging the hail of bullets, Juba fires at him. Inside the bag, Isaac finds a bottle of water and some candy, which he devours immediately. But his brief relief is short-lived. The radio is broken. As punishment for the attempt, Juba fires again, this time hitting the wall and severely damaging Isaac's scope. Suddenly, Isaac hears a crackle in his earpiece. It's Matthews. He's still alive. Isaac quickly shouts out the sniper's location, and Matthews pulls out a piece of metal to use as a mirror, angling it toward the pile of garbage. Moving painfully slowly, he reaches for his rifle. Meanwhile, Isaac keeps the sniper distracted with small talk, during which he learns that Juba was once a teacher in Baghdad. Juba reveals that after his students were killed in an American attack, he vowed to take revenge. The wall Isaac is hiding behind, he says, is all that remains of that very school. Then Juba asks why Isaac still carries the damaged scope. When Isaac stays silent, Juba coldly threatens to shoot Matthews again. Desperate to protect him, Isaac finally confesses. He keeps the scope as a reminder of a friend who died because of a mistake he made, a burden he still carries with deep guilt. Meanwhile, Matthews positions his rifle and blindly fires all his rounds toward the pile of trash, while Isaac shoots as well to mask the sound and create a diversion. Just as Matthews prepares to reload, Juba fires back, striking him in the shoulder. Isaac urges Matthews to crawl toward the wall for cover, but as he leans out to help, Juba fires again, this time hitting Matthews in the head. Isaac is forced to watch his friend die. Overcome with shock and grief, he finally breaks down, whispering through tears that he just wants to go home. Juba tells Isaac that if he truly wants to leave, he won't shoot him, but Isaac remains doubtful, suspecting a trap. Later, Juba asks why Isaac is still out there, even though the war's long over. Isaac falls silent, then finally admits the truth. He's there because he killed his own friend. He confesses that, during a firefight, he accidentally shot his former sniper partner while aiming for an enemy. Ever since, he's been lying, telling everyone his friend was killed by the enemy. Just then, a crackle comes through the radio. Isaac scrambles to check the signal, his heart lifting as he hears people talking. But his happiness doesn't last long. Even though he can hear voices on the radio, he can't talk back because the radio is damaged. To Isaac's surprise, Juba joins the conversation, and the man even uses Isaac's name to ask for help. That's when Isaac finally understands. Juba has been breaking into American radio signals all along, pretending to be a soldier asking for help. He does this to trick rescue teams into coming, so he can easily attack and kill them by surprise. Isaac tries to stop the conversation, but it doesn't work. Sometime later, Isaac wakes up in pain as a crow pecks at the wound on his leg. Realizing that even the birds think he's dead, he decides to take a chance. Using some rope and a stick, he pulls Matthew's rifle toward him and points it at the pile of trash. Just then, helicopters show up, not knowing they're flying into a trap. Wanting to protect the soldiers on the helicopter, Isaac pushes the wall down. The wall collapses and raises a cloud of dust, making it hard for Juba to see where Isaac is. Isaac shoots at the pile of trash, not sure if he hit anyone. To find out, he finally stands up and is surprised that Juba doesn't shoot back. This makes Isaac think he has killed Juba. Soon after, a helicopter lands and the soldiers quickly put Isaac on a stretcher and start treating his wounds. Isaac tries to warn them about Juba, but no one can hear him because of the loud noise from the helicopter. Suddenly, Juba opens fire, hitting and killing the pilot. The helicopter crashes to the ground, killing Isaac and everyone inside. Soon after, we hear Juba on the radio again, pretending to be an American soldier, ready to trick and trap the next rescue team. And with that, the movie concludes.